2 weeks. He comes out for 2 days. He has a severe headache. Then he supposedly ODs on Tylenol and goes to the hospital where they can't save a man from ODing on Tylenol, and he dies 2 days later. On the day he was admitted, Ivins awoke and was able to nod his head in response to the questions posed by a nurse according to the medical records included in the police documents. When asked, "Did you intentionally try to commit suicide?" the patient nodded yes, the document states. 4 months earlier, on March 19th, police had been called to Ivins' home by his wife, who told the responding officers her husband had taken too much Valium or sleeping pills with alcohol. I asked Miss Ivins if she believed her husband was attempting to commit suicide, and she stated no. Officer Ryan Forrest wrote in his report, Ivins was taken to the hospital emergency room but was not admitted. Now here's where it gets interesting. 1 day before that incident, the Army revoked Ivins' access to all laboratories at Fort Detrick because he had failed to immediately tell supervisors he'd spilled anthrax on his pants at work. According to an Army report, Ivins walked home to wash his pants with bleach before returning and telling his supervisors. So, Mr. Ivins spills anthrax on his pants at work. You know, he's not in a moon suit or anything like that. Anthrax is not grape jelly. Then he just walks home and washes it out. Now remember, when anthrax was sent to the Capitol building, it took them about 6 months to clean it out. They were all dressed in moon suits, this kind of thing. So I find the story, the anthrax story, the framing of Ivins, the ridiculousness of the government's version of these events to be tantamount to about a fairy tale. But that was this week in the news, so they refused to let the Ivins story go, and so do I. We've got a few minutes left. If you'd like to call in, 704-873-1400. Our Davie County number is 336-499-0681. And again, our email is onair@therealnewsradio.com. Our website's therealnewsradio.com. Next week, our guest is going to be Rob Wanek, which is a 15-year-old young man. His website is nwoalert.com. And I think you'll find this very interesting. This gentleman's been fighting for freedom at a young age. And Brian, phones will work now? Okay, we was having a little problem with our phones. So if you've been trying to call and not getting through, we apologize. We've got them ready to go now. So again, you can call in 704-873-1400, 336-499-0681 if you'd like to comment on tax listing forms or what Brian has said earlier today with our recession and depression. Okay, we're going to go to the phones. Hey, I'm sorry, we was having a little problems. You're on the Real News. Apparently our phone lines aren't working. Is that right, Ty? Yep. We can't take phone calls. Okay, unfortunately our phone lines aren't working. We're having a little technical difficulty there. Brian, what's your take on the anthrax case? I mean, you've been right there. We've been reporting it. I mean, it's just...
Walks home with anthrax all over his pants, just like grape jelly, like you say.
Unbelievable, and they float this off as the truth, and very few seem to question it, you know?
Well, the American people really don't seem to question anything other than maybe football scores or, you know, which beer should I get this evening, or...
Well, it's just an amazing story because after the anthrax attacks, which murdered 5, you know. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, see if we can fix our phone lines right quick, because we're having people trying to call in. We'll be back in just a second. Hey, we are back on the Real News, and we've got a phone call. Hey, you're on the Real News.
Hey, Farron and Brian, how you doing this morning?
Hey, great, sir.
This is Flint calling from Wilcox County.
Glad to have you on today.
Hey, I'm glad to be on. Hey, I just wanted to make a comment about the tax form you were talking about, the real property tax form.
Yes, sir.
Doesn't it violate your Fourth Amendment rights by making you volunteer your own personal information? That's what I was thinking.
Well, I agree with you because my point on property tax is you never own your property as long as you owe tax on it, and I'm opposed to property tax, and I'm also opposed to having to sign a document that makes me criminally liable if they can come along and say I've not dotted my I's or crossed my T's. So
Yeah, I think everybody ought to toss those things in the trash and get informed if they do start taking people to court, demand jury trials, and that the population ought to know about jury nullification. Because there are many checks and balances. There's not just 3 checks and balances to the Constitution. There's 4, and then there's more. The 4th one would be, or the main one is the jury. That was a big point on why we needed the Bill of Rights. And the Bill of Rights is also has other checks and balances. The First Amendment is a check and balance. The Second Amendment is like the last check and balance. And there's others. So I think people ought to fight that tooth and nail.
well, I agree with you, and we've only got 4 minutes. We had a little problem with our phones, and we've got some other phone calls, so we're going to go to them. I certainly do appreciate you calling, Mr. Flint.
All right. Talk to you later.
Thank you. Hey, you're on the Real News.
Yes, sir. Is this where we can sell things?
No, home ads only on Monday through Friday, sir, 9 to 11.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, I certainly do agree with.
I guess with the economy collapsing, everybody's, trying to sell things. So.
Yeah, the home ads at an all-time high, which it is a great show if you've listened to it. Pat Shannon gets some phone calls. We're probably second to Pat Shannon in phone calls. But, yeah, they'll probably expand that in the near future. But anyway, back to our tax listing form. I mean, what do you think is the best thing for us to do, Brian? Can we unite the people and do something about this? First, I want to find out where they're getting the justification for this. Where does the law come from?
Well, first, like I've mentioned before, we were going to see more traffic tickets coming out. We're going to see probably capital gains come back to the Obama administration. I mean, they are desperate for money. State governments, local governments.
Well, this making it criminal, and if you read it,